Hello and welcome to the latest instalment of MFS's Let's Talk Property podcast, where we connect with industry experts to explore an array of topics within the dynamic world of property. But before we dive into today's episode, I just want to take this moment to share a quick disclaimer. MFS are a bridging loan and buy-to-let mortgage provider and are not financial advisors. The opinions and views expressed in this episode are personal to the host and guests and may not reflect the views of MFS. For more information on MFS, you can find us at www.mfsuk.com and be sure to keep up with our podcast updates on Instagram at MFS_LTP and MFS_Let's Talk Property. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Let's Talk Property with MFS podcast. Today we've got the lovely Kim from Vibe joining us, and we're going to be talking about the Specialist Finance Academy and the specialist lending industry currently. So, hi Kim,
hello.
Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Please tell me about the Specialist Finance Academy, how it started, how did the idea come about, and what you're doing with it at the minute.
Yeah, so I started Vibe 7 years ago as of this year, and it's absolutely flown by. And over that time, I've been on various interviews and podcasts and things like that, and I'm always asked my opinion on reg brokers getting into the specialist sector, the lack of knowledge and experience, how we can raise standards and things like that. So in the back of my mind, subconsciously, I've always been thinking, okay, what can we do more? And then we hosted the Women in Finance retreat last October.
Yeah, I see that all over LinkedIn. Looked very impressive and lots of people attending.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And surrounded by so many regulated brokers, it did come up on so many occasions, like, Kim, I'm just not confident, and can I maybe call you? And I was like, absolutely. And I've always been like a bit of a sounding board for some brokers that are just coming into the industry. And it was literally a light bulb moment that went off, and I thought, right, I could do something with the knowledge that I've got from the lending side and the broking side. So yeah, the academy was born, basically covering three pillars. So community, because I think what's great is that you can get qualifications, okay? A lot of the learning, as you will know, is done on the job.
Yeah.
And then
looking at deals and placing deals, speaking to lenders.
Completely, and it's super scary because you're responsible for advising clients at that point, and there's no real support system other than relying on your internal teams who are at capacity at the minute. It's quite a stressful time. It has been over the last few years. So again, community is super important for support, knowledge and resources, so like webinars. An expert-led like Q&As, and then also tools that they can use like day to day to help them write these deals. Amazing. So yeah, I just want to help them.
I think as well you get to have some fun with it as well. Everyone seems to enjoy it because it is stressful, the industry at the moment. Obviously things are getting slightly better. Hopefully we're going to have a really good 2025, but I can see where people find when you go from just strictly advising on regulated business and moving into sort of the bridging, the commercial finance, it can be scary. In fact, a lot of the brokers that we're tending to find are very similar, where sort of, especially where residential property lending sort of dropped off a bit, and you've still got a staff of 10 people, you need to try and prop it up somewhere. So we're seeing more and more people move into the specialist space.
And I think they should, like the diversification, I think for businesses is super important. Yeah. I do think there's a misconception when it comes to specialist finance that it's almost unreachable and, you know, it's so complicated. But actually, if you know the right questions to ask and you know where to go for the answers, that's all it is really, you know, and it's learning as you go. We're still learning all the time.
And I think people just need that sort of guidance because, you know, you can go do a CMAC qualification to learn about doing regulated mortgages, but there's never really been anything there to teach people at specialists. It's all trial and error, a lot of it. That's how I learned originally anyway.
Exactly, and it's almost like, so I've learned from training my own team as well. And like I said, coming from that lending background, but I think, like you say, just having those tools and resources and that extra support to bounce ideas off of, that's, you know, if you've got that, then I think people should be writing specialists. I love specialists. So.
Me too.
Exactly. That's why we do what we do.
Exactly that. And obviously there's some challenges facing these brokers. What are the main sort of challenges? Is it sort of lack of resources you generally tend to find? Is it?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's lack of time to train new staff. I think, like I said, breaking down those barriers of misconception. I think once you're armed with the right knowledge of the questions to ask, like I said, it just goes back to kind of knowing where to go for the answers. So I do think there's just a massive lack of resources, basically, like day-to-day tools that they can use that's really going to help them to source these types of deals. If we can do it, honestly, anyone can write specialists. It's just But I'm coming at it, being a broker, I can understand what they probably need day to day to do that.
And from working in the lending side, you understand the sort of things the lenders need as well, so you're perfectly positioned for it.
Because half the battle, I think, in specialists, I mean, it's relationships, right?
All day long.
It's relationships with the lenders, it's knowing who to go to and when. It doesn't mean you're going to get the right answer all the time that you want. I do need to stress that. Heavy caveat. But yeah, it's just relationships are absolutely key as well. And I think sometimes brokers miss that as well. And it can come across, no offence to kind of brokers, but it can come across as lazy from a broker's perspective. So again, it's just cutting down all the waffle, because I know what I used to get when I was a broker, working for the lender. You used to be given like War and Peace on bank statements at the beginning, when all you actually need is some condensed bullet point questions, the facts, highlight the bits that you're concerned with, or you know what you need to overcome, and that's all you need. So it's just simplifying it all, that's all.
And I think everyone thinks specialist finance it can be complex, don't get me wrong, there's certain cases if you've got multiple titles and various other things going on, but the main basics of it, especially when it comes to sort of the simpler transactions in specialists, like you said, you don't need that much, you just need enough to gauge whether there's appetite, and then those questions will then follow. And I always think it's really key that people that are moving into the industry meet with their local BDM. Get a good relationship going with them, because you know, you need to know criteria, you need to know what's going on, what they want, what they don't want, process, and it also helps the client if you've got a good relationship with these guys, where you can just pick up the phone at any time, day or night, and ask the questions. Obviously there's a lot of complexities in it, jargon and stuff. And stuff like that.
Love acronyms. We love an acronym in the mortgage industry.
So then, what sort of stuff are people normally moving straight into? Are they moving into the specialist buy-to-let, start testing with that, or are they sort of looking at the bridging side straight away, do you find?
I'm trying to cover all bases, because I'm hoping the academy is going to attract members that have never written specialist finance before, in which case you'd kind of start with your buy-to-let HMO kind of element. And then I'm hoping that it will bring together, you know, experienced specialist brokers that they're either working on their own, and just that extra bit of support. And I've also found like coming together to get different forms of ideas. I'm on part of like 3 different WhatsApp groups of brokers, like very prominent brokers doing really well in the specialist space, and we still bounce ideas off each other.
That's nice.
So again, having that community space to do that. So I'm trying to tailor it for all sides of specialist finance, but like I said, breaking it down for the beginners, and also offering the expert webinars and things like that to give the more seasoned brokers still some value and support.
Yeah, of course.
So,
and I think as well, it's sort of you know, the specialists, no 2 cases are really the same, so it's nice to see how people are packaging cases that may be slightly complex, their wins, their losses, and it's good to discuss these things. We do it internally quite a lot, where we decide why we've lost deals, why we've won deals, and things like that. But we've talked about it a few times already, but what do you feel the importance of people now starting to diversify instead of being just heavily focused on regulated business, and then seeing these diversifying into the unregulated and specialist space?
It's kind of hedging your bets, isn't it? As in, you know, you don't know what's around the corner. We've learned that so many times over the last few years, and it can only be a good thing, I think, to diversify. And obviously, I do need to state the obvious. Specialist finance, you earn more money proc fee-wise by writing these types of deals. So for me, you know, you could be writing 10 resi deals, you could do 1 specialist case. So it's almost like you're working smarter, not harder as well. But I'm not underestimating it. You do need to give it time. It is challenging. I'm not saying that it's just, I'm going to give you all the answers and you're going to be absolutely
You're not going to start writing £2-3 million deals day one.
And also, that's really key, because when I first became a broker, it's easy to think specialist, those unicorn deals, I call them. You know, the deals you hear about on LinkedIn, and you're like, why can't I get some of that? That's not normal. Bread and butter for us is your standard buy-to-let, and you know, your bridging deals. It could be a 50k bridging deal, but we've also written like multi-million pound ones. But it's not to get hung up on those unicorn deals either.
Always the bread and butter.
Always bread and butter.
I've seen a few people make that mistake. We sort of highly focus on the big deals. Yeah, they're lovely to get away. We all love a big deal, but there normally comes a lot more complexities, a lot more things that can stop it from moving ahead. I suppose people don't shout about the 150 grand bridges on LinkedIn, do they?
Exactly. But it's just normal to have your bread and butter and have those nice chunky deals every now and again. But again, I see the potential and the opportunities in this space. There's enough for everyone. There's not enough specialist brokers that are experienced and good. at what they do. So I just think the more the better in this space.
So yeah, we'd love to learn more about the your Specialist Finance Academy, and most importantly things like the membership program. How does that work? How do people become a member of the Academy?
So there's certain openings and intakes throughout 2025. You can find it online, www.specialistfinanceacademy.co.uk, and you can register interest on there if the window is closed. So we're trying to keep it that way, one, to add value, to create the community, and also it's going to be evolving throughout the year. So rather than just having it free and open to everybody, it's really important for me to hone in on that first cohort and then building it from there.
Organically grow over time.
Exactly, and it's going to change. People have different needs, and that's what I need to establish over time. So, there's a members area. So when people join up, there's a monthly cost or an annual cost, very minimal from what they're going to generate, hopefully, from the specialist side. And there's a members area. You've got downloadable tools and content. You've got all the recordings throughout the year with the expert webinars, live Q&As once a month with myself. And then maybe, you never know, I'm hoping maybe to run like a mentorship program at some point, because there's a lot of really good brokers that are interested in actually being part of this, that can offer the mentorship as well. So I can't wait to see where it evolves to.
I can't wait either. And I think for me, things like this, it only benefits the client. The more people working in our industry that fully understand it, and especially when you're sort of putting someone on a bridge and making sure you're able to exit them, and sort of all of these things. And I think it's what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing, and I look forward to following the journey. So education is obviously a key thing. We're very big on education here. We host our own CPD events. We've got some coming up this year on the website as well. We've got tons of stuff as well, probably similar to what you guys have, anything from HMOs to things like that. So how important do you think education is in this industry to people?
It's massive. Like I said, we're learning all the time, even the experienced people. So to stay on top of an ever-evolving industry, the buy-to-let industry is changing so much, like we said earlier. There's going to be a lot more bridging this year, a lot more diversification into commercial, holiday lets, supported living. So the quirky deals there's going to be a massive need for it, and the education side is just ongoing for everyone. So it's huge, and I think it's if you're offering those resources, then great. And I
think it is. And I mean, I know it's a difficult one to answer. What's sort of the main sort of couple of questions that come up when they're talking about specialists? What's the stuff they're worried about or struggle with? Is it the asset type? Is it the way the lenders work compared to regulated mainstream?
There's two main ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now. That is sourcing, because when it comes to specialist finance, you touched on it earlier, no one case is really the same. And one small quirk in it can throw it out. You can't just source on 27 tech. So the manual sourcing and knowing what lenders to go to is the first one. And the second one is having access to the lenders. Some lenders don't open their doors to every broker. So again, it's just understand and again, it's a misconception actually. There's a lot more lenders that are opening their doors now. But people think I have to go through a packager and I have to do it this way. So I think those are the two key ones that I can think of from a broker's perspective. I think you're right, especially on the packager side of things. People normally assume, but then it's like they get that penny drop moment when they think, actually I'll try this one, and then they get paid and they're like, well, actually you know what, that's not too bad. Exactly, and again, we package, so I don't want people thinking that I'm anti-packages at all. I'm not. There's a space for packages.
100%.
But I do think that there are many brokers that have tried to go down the packager route, haven't had a good experience, and it's put them off, and now they're either not doing the deals, and they just haven't got that confidence. So I think, again, this is where the Academy comes in for that.
I think a lot of it is confidence as well, isn't it? Because they actually sort of think, I'm not able to do it, it's difficult. But when you actually someone explain it in layman's terms or digestible, easy ways to understand, it's like, it's sort of like a constant light bulb moments I generally tend to find. And I probably speak to 3 or 4 brokers a week, maybe even more, that are now moving from heavily focusing on regulated to the specialists. I think it's a market that's going to continue to grow, but then obviously there's a lot of changes. So how do you think elevating the industry, what practices do you think we need to sort of have to make the customer journey a bit better?
I think it has to be best practice, even in an unregulated sector. Unfortunately, with any unregulated sector, you do get your cowboys, and you do get those that don't follow best practice because they don't have to. And for me, that's again what the Academy is, what I've built Vibe on basically, is best practice. So even though, we're directly authorised for credit broking, so we're not fully regulated, but we still offer, we issue initial disclosure documents, we do suitability letters, so we definitely, we always source based on what is best for the client. It's never who's paying the most proc fee, because again, that's what you get in the unreg sector, because people can just have a limited panel and do that. So yeah,
or inviting to go on a bridge when they don't really need to go on a bridge,
or putting them on a bridge without looking at the exit. So like which you mentioned earlier. So raising standards for me, it's again, that's why I'm implementing into the academy. So hopefully those coming into it, if they can build those foundations, you're solid, really, aren't you? Like
100%.
And you build a good reputation based on that.
And then we talk about educating brokers as well, but I think educating clients as well, especially if you've got clients that do regular business on what's going on in the market. How important do you think it is keeping your client up to date with changes and everything that's going on?
Mega important. Like, how many changes have come about just from the change in government, and then that impact. And we know how quickly the industry can change as well. So with after Christmas, we were all expecting that kind of rate war between the lenders, and it didn't happen, and everyone was a bit like, oh, okay. Then the swap rates went a bit weird. So,
some people put them up.
exactly. Then they were going up a bit. So you never know what's around the corner. So for us, we do a newsletter each week now.
Lovely.
It doesn't take a lot for us to do that, but again, it's really important to stay close to clients with that. Being on socials, getting your message out there on that, and attending events. So education is massive. There's so much, and there's so much misinformation out there on socials, which that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, we could do a few hours on that.
But so education is massive.
Yeah, and I think the clients now are getting used to this market currently as well. I think I think a lot of people had the initial kickback when sort of people are used to sub 2%, and now they're getting quotes at 5s and 6s, and it's like, well, I'll wait a little bit, but we shall soon see. So last sort of thing we want to touch on is future plans. I know it's a difficult one, but what are the future plans for the academy?
Future plans for the academy, I want it to be, I love the fact that it's starting as an unknown, so everyone's kind of a little bit like, okay, what's it going to be, but for anyone that knows me, I don't do things by halves.
Indeed.
We
all know that.
Big plans. You all know that. I'll splash it everywhere. Make sure it's well known.
It's good.
Yeah, so I want it to become the go-to for brokers that are either taking on new people, to be like, do you know what, we're going to put you on the academy and see how you get on. I want it, and I can't wait for people to see the value that it's going to offer. I am a perfectionist. I want it to launch and have everything that I want it to be on there, but it's just not possible. It's, like I said, evolving it through time, offering the mentorship, having actual downloadable courses that people can do as a set aside.
That's available, that sort of stuff.
So I've got big goals for it, but I just need to remember that I'm still running Vibe, and it's still just me. So and I want to grow Vibe too. So I need to do it, but manage it all at the same time.
You're going to be very busy this year.
Yeah. I like to do that to myself.
But then look, I'd like to sort of finish on this. What do you sort of think the main challenges where brokers will be seeing this year?
The main challenges, I think it's going to be a better year than last year, and I'm adamant the opportunities this year are going to be amazing. I think the challenges are going to be, it goes back to the knowledge sector, part of the specialist finance. So making sure that you are aware of all the different financing options when it comes to bridging. We talk about creative finance strategies. There's so many amazing things you can do with bridging. So I guess just education and being ready for the unknown as well, like always. So just be prepared. We all think, there might be 4. I saw this morning 6 base rate drops this year. Who knows? No one knows.
It's always it's a lucky guess, really. I mean, I was reading 3 the other day. There you go. So.
I went from 3, 4, and now 6. I read this morning, but it's just keep us on our toes. And also, it is stressful what brokers are doing. There's more brokers. It's not a dying industry. There's a massive need for it, but there's a lot of brokers either exiting this market. But again, for new brokers, young brokers that are coming through, huge opportunities. I just want people to more embrace specialist finance.
So do we. And I think it's something we're going to see a lot more of, and it's a good way to support lots of clients. But I just want to say thank you for coming down. I appreciate you travelling over to see us. It's been amazing speaking with you today, and I can't wait to carry on watching the Academy's journey.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great.
Brilliant. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share the episode. You can access our previous episodes in all the usual places, as well as on our website at www.mfsuk.com/podcast. You can also stay connected with us on Instagram at MFS_LTP and MFS_Let's Talk Property. See you next time.